Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and a few years ago, when there was a big lockdown happening in the UK, Big Finish Productions, the audio company who is licensed to make Doctor Who audio dramas, did a weekly free release called a Lock Download, and these were my first Big Finish reviews, and ultimately they were the gateway to get me into this aspect of the Doctor Who universe. And in line with that, Big Finish have now released a weekly podcast called Into the TARDIS, hosted by Colin Baker, the Sixth Doctor, or Old Sixie as he likes to call himself. Now this was announced back in February and they said that it would come out in March, and surely enough March came along and the first few episodes of this podcast have released, but I completely forgot all about this because there was no big official, hey, the podcast is out now. I didn't see anything like that, so I'm a little bit behind. There's a few episodes that I've already dropped. There's the trailer, there's parts 1 and 2 of Death and the Queen, parts 1 and 2 of Energy of the Daleks, and I figured, you know what, similar to what I did with those lockdown reviews, we'll do something akin to a Mr. TARDIS Big Finish audio book club or something, where you're able to listen to these releases on Spotify or iTunes or Amazon Music, whatever your podcast platform of choice is, and every couple of weeks once the full story is dropped, I'll do a video, I'll do a review, and we can talk all about this release that we're all able to listen to in the comment section below. These episodes drop every Friday. I'll try and get a new one of these reviews out every 2 to 3 weeks, but we'll start with the first release from Into the TARDIS, and that's Death and the Queen. Now, Death and the Queen is a 10th Doctor audio drama starring David Tennant and Catherine Tate, and it's written by James Goss. Directed by Nicholas Briggs, this came out in 2016 and was David Tennant's first contribution to Big Finish Productions as the 10th Doctor. This was his big debut release at the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 1, which has a trilogy of stories, Technophobia, Time Reaver, and Death and the Queen. I've not listened to Time Reaver yet. This is my first time listening to Death and the Queen, which served as the third and concluding story of this Big Finish box set. I listened to Technophobia several years ago, but I don't really remember much about it. But anyway, we'll just talk about Death and the Queen. Let's keep this simple. So Death and the Queen is set in the 1780s, and the Doctor and Donna land in a kingdom called Goritania, surprisingly a place and also a language that the Doctor has never heard of and cannot translate. And Donna Noble meets a young handsome prince called Rudolph, not that one, played by Blake Ritson, who is immediately smitten with Donna, and Donna is smitten with the prince and the kingdomly lifestyle of a monarch. The two hit it off and almost immediately agree to get married. Rudolph brings the Doctor and Donna into the castle, into the kingdom, to meet the Queen Mum, played by Alice Krieg, who does not like Donna one bit because, you know, mother-in-laws, am I right? However, Rudolph and Donna's big arranged wedding day is interrupted by a ominous black cloud of death that is encroaching on the kingdom. It's killing everything in its path, it's wiping out all life that it comes across, and the Doctor has to try and stop this threat. Donna steps up to try and protect the people of her new kingdom, but is also a little bit suspicious of the Doctor. Is he trying to ruin another wedding of mine? All the while uncovering a potential conspiracy where the Queen Mother and the Prince Rudolph might know more about this black cloud than they're letting on.
Oh yeah, the Queen Mum loves me.
Well, I'm happy for you. Now, listen.
What? What is this? I expected no better of you, Donna. You, young man.
Me?
If you're no doubt some hastily discarded paramour come to reclaim this gold-digging minx, let me assure you that you would ordinarily be most welcome. Regrettably, however, she is engaged to be crowned queen at my son's coronation.
Oh, no, it's not that at all. It's about, marriage and a coronation. Isn't that a bit of a fiddly ceremony?
That's what I said.
We're no ordinary kingdom.
What? No, I thought not. When I saw your flag had small print. What language is that in, by the way?
Clearly not a scholar. What are you? Card shop?
Oh.
Purse snatcher? Or a fading gigolo?
Listen, Your Majesty, I came here on important... Is she always like this?
Yeah.
Oh, poor Donna. I am here on a life or death matter.
Of course you are. How much do you want? Someone, bring me a banker's draft.
Listen to me. This entire kingdom is about to be laid waste. Something very bad is coming.
Oh, a likely story.
Look out the window! Actually, not that one. It's stained glass. So's that one. No, look, do you have any normal windows?
Oh, we're window salesman now?
Doctor, never said this before, but fancy a quick trip round my ramparts?
Like I said, I'd never listened to Death and the Queen before this Into the TARDIS release, but I had heard great things about it. It's been called the crown jewel of the 10th Doctor Adventures Volume 1 set, and as a terrific, gut-bustingly funny comedy. So maybe my expectations were a little bit too high going into it, because I found Death and the Queen to be a really good, a really solid hour-long audio drama, and that was kind of it. I did laugh throughout, but I've heard way funnier Big Finish comedies in my opinion. And now the sun has decided to show up. Let's close those blinds. There is some really good character work here. I do like the 10th Doctor kind of wrestling with the idea of maybe losing another companion who has just fallen in love with somebody who they've only just met. You know, you've got Jo, you've got Leela, the list goes on. And he is a little bit upset about the idea of losing his best friend in the universe, Donna Noble, but it's in a pretty dignified and respectful way. He just wants what's best for Donna, and if he thinks that this marriage to Prince Rudolph is the best thing for her, then he'll probably go along with it. Whereas Donna, on the other hand, is just swept up in the whole thing. As we know in Series 4 of the TV series, Donna is somebody with a massive inferiority complex. She has very low self-esteem, so the idea of this handsome Prince Rudolph who is smitten with her and wants to take her to rule over a kingdom, then yeah, she would be quite an easy mark for that. But when Donna gets to the kingdom and sees this encroaching threat of this black cloud, it's really cool for her to quickly step up and think, wait a second, I now have a responsibility to this kingdom and I need to keep my people safe, so I don't care what the Queen Mum says, get all of the peasants into the castle because that way they can be protected. Stuff like that is really, really cool, and the Doctor and Donna have a really great interplay with the character of Hortense, played by Beth Chalmers, and Hortense is like the head of the maids of the castle. That stuff is really cool and really well handled. My main issue with Death and the Queen is that in the third act it serves to undercut a lot of that goodwill. For example, the way that the ultimate threat is defeated is ultimately defeated by Donna, but I think that actually undercuts a lot of her really noble character work that was done over the course of this story. I know that they don't want to make Donna the damsel in distress who the Doctor has to save all of the time, and that doesn't really happen that often in the TV series, but if there was one story where the Doctor has to save Donna, it probably was this one, because not only does it make the Doctor's role pretty damn redundant in this story, but it makes you wonder whether Donna's altruistic and self-sacrificing front in the story was actually genuine at all. I don't know, I think the ending is meant to be Donna finding the loophole in the contract with Death or whatever they've got set up in this story, but because the terms of that contract are working on fairy tale logic in the first place, it's like, I don't know, it felt a bit out of nowhere, and it undercut Donna's journey. Also, while I think David Tennant is doing a great job in this story, like I said, that ending means that he is essentially a spare part in this whole hour-long story. He's just there thinking, why have I never heard of Goritania? What's going on with Goritania? Oh, are you going to leave me, Donna? Oh, companions always leave me, including 2 robot dogs. You know, that's kind of the beginning and end of his character in this story, and David Tennant plays it really well, but that really is the main note that he's given over the course of this story. Maybe they could have done a lot more with the 10th Doctor here, because they do pair him up in the second half with Hortense, but it is just a lot of running around trying to figure out what this black cloud is, but we already know what the black cloud is because Donna is being exposited this information at the same time by Rudolph and other characters. It felt like we got 2 servings of the same bit of exposition because they'd split the characters up. I don't want to say that Death and the Queen is a bad story. It's not. It's actually really, really good. But like I said, this story has been hyped up for like 8 years as the pinnacle of the 10th Doctor Big Finish range, and for me it wasn't quite it. So I'm expressing my issues with this story because I feel like not many other people have talked about these issues that I had with it. So I might be overcompensating a little bit. I did like Death and the Queen. James Goss is a terrific writer and the character work is really good, until you get to that ending. But the first like 45 to 50 minutes of Death and the Queen are really good, and while it's not gut-bustingly funny as many people have described, I was chuckling throughout. There's some really great witty moments here, and also some really cool imagery. Like, I love the idea of Donna Noble in a wedding dress in the middle of this big beautiful castle hall, literally dancing with death. That is really metal, and I love how Catherine Tate plays these interactions with Death, who's voiced here by Alan Cox. And when I say Alan Cox plays Death, I mean, yes, sculpted figure with the hood and everything, just, yeah, this Death on the cover. It's exactly what you think, the Grim Reaper, scythe and everything. I also did like Rudolph over the course of the story. I think that Blake Ritson gives him like a real affable charm. You can imagine him being almost like a Hugh Grant type in the 90s or the 2000s. Like, he's not the sharpest bulb in the crayon box, but he's still likable, he's still quite endearing, and I did like his sort of redemption in the third act. But in terms of Death and the Queen being an Into the TARDIS release, it makes sense. You know, David Tennant and Catherine Tate, you know, they're a fan favourite TARDIS team. They've recently come back for the 60th anniversary. A setting and a premise like you got in Death and the Queen is not something you got in the TV series, so it's a really good original gateway into Big Finish Productions. My main nitpick for the Into the TARDIS format is that the cliffhanger ending to part 1 is like the weakest cliffhanger you could have possibly had, when the perfect cliffhanger is like 3 or 4 minutes later. They should have just waited. But I'm nitpicking, I don't want to complain too much. This is a free release that you can get on your podcast app. So that was my thoughts on Doctor Who, Death and the Queen, a solid black comedy starring the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble. Now, the next release for Into the TARDIS is the 4th Doctor story, Energy of the Daleks. Now, this is the 4th story in Tom Baker's first season, or his first run of Big Finish Audio Productions. What I'm going to do, actually, is because these are only an hour long, is that before I review Energy of the Daleks, I'm going to try and make my way through these earlier 4th Doctor and Leela stories, Destination Nerva, Renaissance Man, the Wraith of the Isney, before I listen to Energy of the Daleks. I've got a job coming up which requires a lot of driving and travelling, so I'm going to have time to listen to these things, but tune back shortly where we're going to be talking about Into the TARDIS story number 2, Energy of the Daleks. I've not heard great things about this one, but I am intrigued. You know, Tom Baker, Dalek story, you know, what could possibly go wrong? And look, it's even got Mark Benton in it. We love Mark Benton. So folks, because you can listen to Death and the Queen for free on Spotify, iTunes, etc., I want you folks to check out the story, give it a listen, and let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. If this video does well, if there's a lot of comments and engagement, we'll keep on doing this, and we'll listen to the stories as Into the TARDIS releases them. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already for more upcoming Big Finish reviews and other Doctor Who related videos. Folks, I'll see you all next time.